Thank you, Alexander. Alexander will stay with us also for the first panel, and now we'll move to Ambassador Mingarelli. Mr. Mingarelli has recently said, and I'll try to quote it as exactly as possible, you'll correct me, that only an idiot could deny that Ukraine has done a lot of reforms over the last 4 years.
I did not say that. This is not true. The interpretation was not good.
Okay. But so you have said, probably translated from diplomatic language, something like glass is half full, yeah?
So, dear Thomas, dear Sasha, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big pleasure, obviously, for me to be here for a few minutes today and to see that so many people have decided to join us despite the weather condition. And I take it as a very good sign, the sign that potential investors, leaders of foreign companies have an interest in this country and have trust in this country, and I am sure that you have good reasons to have this trust in Ukraine. You are right to trust the future of these countries for two main reasons. The first reason is that there is a majority of the population and the political class who is determined to modernize this country along European standards. And the second reason is that this country has exceptional assets that no other country in the region can present. First point, the political will. Civil society, everybody knows that the civil society of Ukraine is exceptional. I do not know any other country in Europe, the Balkans, North Africa, or the Middle East, where every day people, generally aged between 20 and 40, operate as a watchdog for the political class and warn the international community, the government, the members of the parliament about wrong decisions which are about to be taken to preserve vested interests and against the interest of the majority of the population. It is important, not only for political reasons, it is important politically as well, because if anything bad happens in a few months' time at the next elections, if populists win, I'm sure that they will not be able to implement their agenda, because the civil society of this country will not allow us to ruin what has been done over the last 4 years. Such a vibrant civil society is a guarantee that this country will move in the right direction, whatever happens in a few months' time during the election. Political class. Many people say, well, in the political class, most people are in the hands of oligarchs and do their best to preserve the country as it has been between 1992 and 2004. This is not true. In the political class, be it in the government, in the Verovna Rada, you have a majority of reformers. Look at the people who are here today and who belong to the political class. And again, when I say that, I'm not complacent, I'm just realistic. It's true that in the Rada and in the government you have a few people who are still there to try to maintain Ukraine as a cash machine and to mainly serve the interest of 15 people who have been running the country between 1992 and 2015. But a majority of the people who have been in the government over the last few years or are still in the government are people who want to modernize their country. They face resistance in their daily work, yes, but it would be a miracle if it would be different. Do you know any country where the transition process has been a linear and smooth process? No, no. Everywhere the transition process is a daily battle between those who try to reform the country and those who try to keep it as it has been for decades. Everywhere. Ukraine is no exception. So you should not be surprised when it takes years to put in place crucial reform like an anti-corruption court. I understand that many people in this country do not want an anti-corruption court. Everybody can understand that, and therefore we should be patient. This does not mean that we should take it as a pretext for those who keep the country as it is. No, but we should be realistic about what can be carried out by the reformers which exist in the government in the Verovna Rada. And with the international community, we stand by them, and we will do everything possible to ensure that they can pursue what they have been doing over the last 4 years. This is why sometimes I get a bit nervous when I hear that nothing's changed in this country. Alors, I will not repeat what has been done in terms of macro-financial stabilization and structural reforms. Sasha has been speaking for half an hour on that, and I will be less precise than he has been. But we all know that a lot has to be done, and that today's Ukraine has nothing to do with the Ukraine we knew in 2014. It's obvious. And obviously now you have to continue and to speed up. The priorities for the next few months, you have been telling them, but I will just repeat, otherwise some people will tell me that I do not do my job. Rule of law. It's clear that the absence of rule of law is the main problem. And if the exceptional assets of this country are not fully exploited today, it's to a large extent because there is an absence of rule of law. And in the field of rule of law, Sasha Daniluk has already said everything, but I have to repeat, this is once again my job. You have to put in place without any delay the anti-corruption court. And I will add, according to the recommendation of the Venice Commission. Don't put in place a court which does not fulfill with the condition which has been spelled out very precisely by the Venice Commission. You know what you have to do. I hope that in the Verovna Rada this week they will do their job. Reform of the law enforcement agencies. A national security draft law is on the table of the Rada. I hope that the Rada will adopt the new national security law this week as well, and that tomorrow the SBU will focus on 2 issues and nothing else: counterintelligence and counterterrorism. Reform of the police. I was yesterday with the director of the police reflecting on how we can use our recently launched Bravo project to help reform the national police. We have here more than 3,000 EU police officers and prosecutors under the so-called EU advisory mission to help reform the police. We are working on that. Reform of the Prosecutor General. I spend my days with Yuri Lutsenko to explain that we can assist him and that we have hundreds of EU experts to help reform the Prosecutor General. The main reform would be to downsize it. Reform of the judiciary. Minister Petrenko is harassed by us every day to speed up the reform of the judiciary system. So all this has to go ahead and possibly to be accelerated. Second point, restructuring of state-owned enterprise and privatization. Not only privatization, Sasha, but in my view, restructuring and liquidation of a large number of SOEs and privatization of the companies who can be privatized. The Prime Minister has a political will, without any doubt, to move ahead. He has excellent advisors to do that. The international community stand by. We should be able to move ahead this year with the restructuring and the privatization of state-owned companies. Land reform. Again, I can be short because Sasha has been comprehensive on that. It is important, obviously, because you know that this country has the best agricultural land in Europe. The potential is huge. If you manage to do that in the proper way, you will untap an unbelievable potential to trigger growth and create jobs. And it is important to create jobs because Ukraine is bleeding. This immigration phenomenon that you just touch upon in a few seconds is extremely serious for the country. We have to do everything possible to convince young Ukrainians that this country has a future. and that their future and the future of their family is in this country and not in neighboring countries. And for that to happen, we have to work on communication and the image of the country. I keep saying, and I repeat once again, that the image of this country has nothing to do with the reality of the country. Yes, there are problems, but the potential is huge, and the movement is in the right direction. And we should communicate on that. I don't know how, because I'm not a communication person, but we have to find the right narrative to explain that there is no reason for Ukrainians who are 20 or 30 to leave this country. Because this country has all assets to ensure that tomorrow their children will live in a stable and prosperous country at the center of the European continent. So we have to work on communication for this reason as well. Another element which is important if we want to keep the people in Ukraine, social cohesion. I know that no many people speak about that because you are all ultra-liberals. I'm not, and I believe that beyond a certain level of social inequalities, you cannot have sustainable growth. And in these countries, the inequalities are just unacceptable. You cannot be in a country where a majority of the population has to struggle to survive with less than $200 per month when you have thousands of Porsche, Ferrari, and Lamborghini in the street. This cannot stay like that. Social cohesion is important, and I hope that all those who shape and design the reform of the country will keep this in mind when they shape the reform in the economic field. And we'll keep in mind that we have to take care of the impact of all the reform on the most vulnerable segments of the population. Otherwise, at the upcoming election, you know what the result will be. The populist will be the first. So please take care of the social cohesion. Last point, because we are already late, we know all that in principle in 40 months' time there will be elections, but many people say that it will not be in 40 months' time. It will be before. In my view, in my humble view, there is a need for political stability in this country to implement the reform which has been adopted a few months ago, health, pension, education, and to move ahead with the reform on which a lot has still to be done. And the last thing that this country needs this year is political instability. So I hope that the election will take place when they have to take place, and that in the next 12 months there will be the possibility for all the reformers in the government, in the Rada, to implement the necessary reform. Last word, we, the EU, are not a neutral actor here. We are committed to support the reformers because we know that a majority of the population wants to live in a country which has taken over EU norms and standards. This is why I spend my time with Ivana Klimpush, Maria Ionova, and a few others to ensure that our association agreement, and in particular our deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, is implemented as quickly and smoothly as possible. And we have already achieved a remarkable result. The government adopted in October an action plan to implement our association agreement, and yesterday the Prime Minister and the Speaker of the Rada adopted a joint roadmap for the government and the Rada to implement the association agreement. So the right conditions have been created on the Ukrainian side. On our side, we spend our time doing that, and I'm sure that together we will be able, thanks to the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, to bring the Ukrainian economy in the EU single market in a few years' time. Thank you.